but you sit back and you reflect on what you just went through and what could have happened and what didn't happen, and it's pretty chilling. It's pretty sobering. You become a little bit emotional whenever an event's over. Their first reaction is, okay, we've got to go back and fix everything.
Just make sure that you let your needs be known to any relief agencies that come through. You might be fine on water for your cattle, but you might need feed or something like that.
Well, the Oklahoma Standard is the people. The people will come running and help you in a time of need. We've seen it time and again. We've seen it done without any kind of need for reimbursement or anything else. It's just the right thing to do.
No, in Oklahoma, we're fiercely independent, and sometimes we don't like to ask for help, but your fellow Oklahomans, that's what they're trying to do, is help.
And it was just, there was people showed up and rolled up fence for people. And I mean, there was a lot of help that came from everywhere, really.
It was humbling and overwhelming at the same time.
It was amazing how many loads of hay came into this part of the country.
We were kind of contacted to ask if we would be willing to coordinate contributions.
Harper County OSHA Extension, this is Dana.
Because a lot of people had a lot of cattle, livestock that needed to be fed, and they had absolutely nothing to feed them. And so we thought, sure, 30, 40 calls. It became a huge national thing. And with the help of the OSU IT team, we got stuff out there where they could sign up on online and everything, and then we coordinated trucks and hay. And
not every wildfire will have the donation response they did following the huge event of 2017 in northwest Oklahoma. When it comes to livestock, Oklahoma State's Extension veterinarian Dr. Barry Whitworth says, keep a close eye on the surviving animals.
What you have to monitor in some of these that do not look as severe is you have to watch out for infections, and usually that's typical if the infection goes what we would consider blood or septicemic. Those animals may end up having to be euthanized because they're not going to eat, they're not going to drink, going to be spending a lot of time laying around because they're depressed, they're in pain, and those types of things. So those are typically what we're going to have to watch out for those that initially appear like they're going to be okay, but in a few days they begin to succumb to the infections that are caused.
For the obvious reasons, we want to make sure that those animals are in good condition. But the other thing you need to think about from a legal perspective is that under Oklahoma law, the owner of the livestock has primary responsibility for making sure those livestock are contained.
There was nothing there to keep anything in, so you don't really think about that until it happens, that there's no way to keep them where you want them.
Documentation is key. Even things like nuts and bolts, wrenches, things like that. If you have a tool shed burned up, they're going to require an accurate accounting of all of it. You can't just say, well, I had 15,000 in hand tools in there run. They're actually going to want you to demonstrate that's what I had there.
Making sure you have a good before picture. Well, now let's make sure we have a good after picture as well. Really carefully document all the losses, take good pictures, and try to get that response or claim in as soon as possible so the adjuster can come out and see things as they really were after the fire.
Now that all the immediate needs have been met, family is safe, livestock is located, and you have all the photos of the damage that you need, now is the time to start thinking about rebuilding.
There are state and federal agencies. You're going to want to be in the FSA office, and you're going to want to be talking to your insurance agent who's got your farm policy, what's covered, and that might be time to get checkup on that to make sure you've got the right items listed, that if you've regrown your cattle herd from the drought from a few years ago and you got more cows, you want to make sure that's on your policy. If you've changed your equipment, etc., you're going to make sure that's there. So those are the places where you're going to want to hit: FSA, your county extension office, and the insurance agent. There's a lot of production losses out there that are considered normal losses associated with agricultural production that will not be covered by your insurance policy. Typically, standing forage, you probably can't get coverage on that. But once it's baled that's up in the yard and you put it behind a locked gate, usually you can get coverage against fire, against theft. But again, it's something that you need to keep updated, and that's typically covered under your farm policy insurance. You'll need financial records that do include, or records of loss. You'll need to indicate, for example, miles of fence that are lost, where it's lost, your head of cattle that are lost. If your cows are still being depreciated, fencing still being depreciated, there are rules for deducting catastrophic losses and not having to continue to depreciate those out. Other cattle, like feeder cattle, and their ages and weights. So there's lots of documentation. That's why you start with a camera. From those images, you can write out your losses. There may be government programs you qualified for as well, as long as your limits, as long as your losses exceed some limit. The private assistance, the charitable donations, they also may vary with the size of your loss. So you're going to need to document all of that.